on down in the Paris of the prairie, we kings of all treasures buried.
Tragically Hip Wheat Kings, a song that was based on a story of a person that was wrongly accused of murder in the 70s, and that happened in Saskatoon. A couple of pictures that I took, a little explanation. This one is part of downtown Saskatoon looking southwest from the University Bridge. Nice little scene there. And this one is the Delta Bessborough, and that's where the conference was held on the lower floors. It looks like a nice hotel. So this is going to be a quick narrated PowerPoint show on what I saw and learned at the conference in Saskatoon. So we all know the era of the meat wagon is long over. Pressures to keep people out of the emergency room are forcing changes in a lot of different healthcare fields, including EMS. The old saying might be more true now than it was before. No need to go into great detail about that. All in this audience know this stuff very well. So let's take a look at what they're doing in Minnesota. In Minnesota, the community paramedic is even defined in the health department rules, and they're sort of a step above the regular medic. They involve more education, more responsibilities. Community paramedicine is defined in the health department of Minnesota as used to increase access to primary care, provide health assessments, medication management, lab collection, follow-up care after discharge, etc. So when I was sitting there listening to all this stuff, it struck me that this sounds an awful lot like nursing care, which we all know very well the nurses unions are not going to take lying down. That's a direct assault on their domain. And as Joe Bart mentioned in one of the staff meetings, this is going to end up being a legislative fight to get medics to do some of this nursing type work. Speaking of legislation, in Minnesota they have a statute 256B0625 subdivision 60 that defines this specifically for payers and other regulations. Now, of course, DSRIP is going to take care of this in the short term. In the long term, there's going to have to be some thought processes to how this whole program is sustainable. In Canada, this obviously isn't a problem with a single payer system. Here, it's a little bit different. Specifically, payments are linked to the certification of the medic. The whole plan must be part of a bigger care plan issued by the primary care provider in consultation with the medical director of the ambulance service. There's one for you, Brian. And in Minnesota, the community paramedic is covered under Medicaid, which of course it will be here. Moving on to San Diego, they have a focus on frequent users. RAP is the name of their program, which is just their name for community paramedicine. StreetSense is a data mining software which basically just pulls out the frequent users. RAP medics are allowed and dispatched to flagged users, so there isn't any wasted time with that. Their initial pilot showed 1,200 fewer calls by the same frequent users the next year, and in 2015 they expanded the program and added 4 additional medics. One of the principals of this program is a Dr. James Dunford, and this is what he had to say about the resource allocation program. Moving on to Winnipeg, they started their project in a place called the Main Street Project, think locally of 291 Elm. 2.5-year pilot project that took care of quite a few people, 50% reduction in the ambulance transport from the Main Street Project. This original one started in 2013 or 2013. Now it looks like they're in the home and doing expanded work there, focusing in on, again, frequent users. One of the interesting things I read looking at this was that AMA patients will even be chased down by these medics. Not a bad idea considering they're going to come back anyway. Moving on to Texas, they also had an interest in frequent flyers. They noticed that their frequent flyers were elderly with chronic medical conditions. They've defined their program with what they call the 6 C's. I'll let you read that, but we'll focus in on something I've heard repeatedly in all these programs, that they're interdisciplinary. There's a lot of working with other services, social work, nursing, primary care providers, etc. They also use APPs, but in this case it's Advanced Practice Paramedic. One of our local neighbors to the north, Hamilton Paramedic, which Dave and I are planning on taking a visit to see a little more firsthand how they work their system. One of the programs is called the Social Navigator Program. It's a partnership between Hamilton Paramedic Service and the Hamilton Police, and we just read you a little bit of a description. The Social Navigator is a full-time paramedic. He works very closely with the Hamilton Police Service action officers. Each day, the Social Navigator interacts with action officers regarding repeat offenders who encounter in their deployment zones. Navigator will then work with various different social agencies to help provide the appropriate care to best serve the client's needs. The Social Navigator program is also supported by the court system, with some repeat offenders being mandated to participate as part of the release conditions. The Social Navigator project is made in Hamilton's solution that is reconnecting people who are in need with services and support they require. This wraparound social service solution is positively impacting people's lives in our community. It responds to the complexities of issues in people's lives. It's a new approach to breaking the cycle of repeat offenders that is improving outcomes and optimizing resources. Sylvester comes to mind for me from back in my day. He's still around, I know, but I'm sure there's newer ones. All of these guys have run-ins with the police also. Another program out of Hamilton in collaboration with the McMaster University is CHAP EMS, or Community Health Assessment Program, through Emergency Medical Services. In their first stage pilot, they have a subsidized housing focus, looking at hypertension, fall risk, diabetes, and cardiac risk factors. Patients enter their system via a normal 911 call. All the medics get trained in the program's entrance criteria. Community paramedicine is a relatively new thing, and all the presentations were mentioning studies that they're doing also, but the early data looks promising. There is no cookie cutter way to handle this. The details of any particular program are going to be up to the local area. Our regional, state, federal laws, along with regional political and financial realities, are going to be part of the equation. However, there are some common themes. Community paramedics will need additional training. Some programs do that in-house, others have partnerships with local colleges and universities. The golden ticket, of course, would be a national standard, which is being looked at in Canada. Integration with other services, such as the primary care provider, mental health, police, and social work, are going to be a must to have these programs fully function. So it looks like there's a bunch of ways to do this. How we handle it here is going to be up to us, but some examples are part of the 911 system integrated into their regular duties. Notice that was a common theme in some of the rural areas of northern Canada, where there really isn't the call volume to make a dedicated community paramedic. Others do community outreach to high utilization areas, such as 291 Elm. There's others that do home visits as part of a greater program. There was a case of doing in-home blood transfusions, even a mobile stroke center in one of the programs. Some others embed into homeless shelters, addiction centers, and finally senior housing. If you want to do a deep dive into the meeting, this website is the place to go. They have all the slides that were presented, plus video recordings of all the presenters, for lots and lots of information over 2 days.